In this video, I'm going to do a financial teardown of the August 2024 end of month results for Archi-Demo Co. So sit back, grab a cuppa and enjoy the video as we overlay the profit metrics framework on top of these results. So August has rolled around. We can now use the profit metrics framework to see where we're going and how things are looking for the future. Once we've done that, it'll enable us to answer a couple of very important questions. Are we on track to meet our target? And if we're not, why aren't things going to plan? We're going to compare our actual results for the month against the budget and try and understand the variances. We're going to look to our forecast to understand the full year impact. And we're going to go through the reports and look at the P&L initially, and then our KPIs and balance sheet. Ultimately, we're trying to see the impact of everything on our cash flow. Once we've got all of this, it'll put us in a great position to have an insightful strategic discussion about the future and decide what we're going to do to keep things on track. But before we get to that point, there's a bunch of things that we need to do before we can update our live financial model and then sit down and use it as a strategic tool. We've got to review our job costs and we've got to identify any WIP. That'll have to be booked. If you're using Xero, it's a manual journal each month. I'd do it as a reversing journal. We need to feed in our actual results and replace the forecast figures in August with them. And then we'll be able to see the impact on the full year forecast from any variance in August. And we want to compare our detailed revenue pipeline against the capacity forecast in our three-way forecast. Now, believe me, it's really easy to fly off on tangents and go down rabbit holes chasing small stuff. So before we immerse ourselves in that sort of detail, we really should do the high level or summary level stuff first. So the first of those summary level reports is the actual versus budget for the month and year to date. Now we just want to get a real good idea of, are we on track for the month? Are we on track year to date? We can see on this slide we're a little bit up for sales and the direct costs are a little bit behind. So it's meant that our gross margin's up, but we've overspent on the overheads, which brings us in for the month, 3,817 below, and year to date's almost bang on. So we're looking okay versus budget year to date. We'll go to our forecast and say, well, what does the full year look like? We can see here that the sales is almost bang on. It's up a little bit. The direct costs are a little bit below. Net profit, we should be finishing 16,618, better than we originally thought. So I'm getting a fair bit of comfort so far with these actual results that things are pretty well on track. Again, helping us to sort of frame areas that we might want to take a little bit of look at. It helps to do a little bit of trend analysis using KPIs. So we can look here, the black columns there, the actual year-to-date stuff. The red line is the budget and the blue stuff's in the forecast. So we can see here the multiplier for the month was up. And we'll get into the detail of that in a sec. The cash at bank's taken a bit of a hit. We're trying to understand that. The net profit's quite a way up. Staff numbers still below what we'd forecast. The debtor days has come up, but still within the range. The utilisation looks all right. Overhead rate is up for the month. We might want to have a look at that. We can see the fixed costs are up a little bit. And the variable overheads are up as well. So that overhead rate covers both fixed and variable. So we probably want to go in now into a more detailed level year-to-date actual versus budget report and try and understand what's going on. And we can see here 52,000 coming into our sales figure for work in progress. And I can tell you that that's a bit of a catch-up. It's we didn't have any WIP on our balance sheet to start with. We didn't do it in July, but we've bit the bullet and we've done it in August. So we've now got a position that we can lock away. And we'll go into those job costing reports after this and we'll show where that's come from. You know, the salaries are down a little bit. There's an extra person that was budgeted that hasn't yet come in. The overheads for the month and year to date are over a little bit. We can see where they are. And we can then go in and scratch around, find out, are these timing differences or are they actually extra costs that we hadn't budgeted for? We need to find that out. I don't have the answer for that just yet for this month. The same with the variable overheads, they're up a bit. I have dug into the staff costs, it's recruiting costs, so that'll be paid in advance. The 20th staff person is starting on the 1st of September, so we've had to pay that to get the guarantee and pay that in advance. So they're probably our two biggest items is the IT running costs and the staff costs. And on the fixed side, we've got probably a timing problem with our insurance. The full year forecast, we can see here July and August actuals coming in, and then we've got our reforecast here on the capacity basis. This has all been driven from the drivers in the background, the head count, the salary mix, the utilisations, everything like that are all feeding in here through a multiplier to give us a capacity estimate. And we're going to compare that in a minute against our actual sales pipeline forecast to see if there's enough work in the pipe, if we're going to be able to do it, and if there's enough there. So at this point, we need to segue across into the job costing. So this is all driven through the time and billing system, and this is the summary report of that. We can see the 433 of revenue ties in with what was in our accounts. Costs are up a fair bit, and when we do the analysis over here, the earned value relative to what we've invoiced, we've got the 52,000 in WIP. And then we can come along and have a look and work out which of these jobs are going well, which aren't. We can see we've got a bit of a problem on Bunyip Hills. It's in the red, and we've actually forward billed at $5,000. So we could get some good insights here. The red ones in this list are where we haven't billed everything we've earned. The blue ones are where we've forward billed, but they net off to the $52,000. Another point to note would be on Alice Road. Haven't built anything yet, but we've got $12,500 in WIP. We're obviously sweating on a start date for that, so we'll come back to that when we look into the revenue forecast. So this chart shows our current full year revenue forecast. The black stuff is the actual, green is secured, yellow is unsecured, blue is marketing targets or blue sky, and the red line is for the budget. So this chart's great. You can run some high level analysis over it and say, well, we originally budgeted 5.016, we're now forecasting 5.035. How much is in here? And when we look at it on a weighted average basis, we get 5.119. So we've actually got about $100,000 more revenue in our detailed forecast than we have in our capacity one, which would see our multiplier go up from 2.8 to about 2.86. Now, I'm not confident enough yet to change the capacity one to 2.86. I think the best thing to do is to go back into this and really query some of these. We can see here in November, without that yellow unsecured job starting, we're in a bit of strife. We're a bit short. But we're in a lot of strife by December and January if that yellow one doesn't start. So what is the yellow one? When we come across into the detail of our unsecured forecast, we made a couple of changes. The Bradman Road was pushed out 3 months because there's a delay there. That's obviously going to have an impact. But this High Street Yoga Studio is the one that's supposed to be starting in November. You can see that it's a big job. It's a $50 million project. It's definitely going to happen. We're probably 50-50 chance of winning it. And it's supposed to start in November. Well, we're now at the end of August. We need to start finding out how we can get that project to get going. On the secured side, we can see that in October we've got Alice Road starting. That was the one from the job costing where we had 12,500 in WIP. So we've already started working on that. We've got a contract. It's supposed to start in October. But if it doesn't, or if it gets off to a slow start, it's going to hurt us. They're the two projects that we really need. It's Alice Road secured starting in October, and we need High Street Yoga to be starting in November, or we're going to be in a spot of bother if we go back to our full chart there now. But generally speaking, I'm pretty confident with that. You don't expect to see the full year locked away, but it's important to know what the risks are so you can manage them. To have a look at the balance sheet and see what's going on. And there's two other reports we need to sort of look at. One of them is the balance sheet reconciliation file. So we've been through each of these accounts, making sure that these assets and liabilities are actually assets and liabilities and not expenses and revenue. So we've gone through this as bulletproof. And the other thing we need to have a more detailed look at is the aging on our debtors and creditors. So we'll go into them. Okay, so this is our balance sheet reconciliation file. So we've got all these bank accounts. We can just go into our feeds and take care of all those reconciliations. So we've got our trade receivables, age listing here. We can see here that we've got 100 grand from company DEF, running job 456 there. That's slipping out there a bit, that 100 grand. We've got to be trying to get that money in. Prepayments, we've got things like our software licenses, we've got subscriptions, insurance, we're amortizing all that stuff, and we've got our rec for that. We've got director loan accounts, we've got fixed asset reconciliation, superannuation payable, PAYG payable. These are all checked off against the payroll reports and that sort of thing. We've got our staff provisions, we've got taxation provision, other accruals, GST, bank loans, that sort of thing. So everything's reconciled, and we can take a fair bit of comfort from having a bulletproof balance sheet that we can rely on our profit and loss. Next logical thing to do is to check out how's this impact our cash flow, everything. So we've started the year with about 1.5 million. We had some tax bills to pay, and we finish up with about the same. Even though we've made a decent profit, we've had to pay loans back and that sort of stuff. But I'm not going to dwell on the cash flow forecast this month because we're actually looking pretty good. We've got plenty of money in the bank. We're profitable. There's not too much to be concerned about there. Now the drivers, we'd go through these typically in a meeting. We'd be doing stuff like looking at changes to the forecast headcount, discussing whether we're better and worse, whether a 2.8 multiplier is being conservative or optimistic. We look at the salary mix. They may change through the year, and we'd update them every month. Utilisation rate, all that sort of stuff. And then we do our buckets for our fixed and variable costs. So we can check all that stuff as well. So now that we've got all this information, we're at the point where we can issue these reports to the directors. We can get ready for that strategic discussion. We know that we've got all the answers, all the information at our disposal. And the thing is, you can't really have a strategic discussion if you can't figure out if you're on track. If you've got no idea where you're going or where you are now, you'll never work it out. And I find once we've done all of that other work, we've gone through, we can pretty reliably predict the costs. You tell me the head count, how much you're paying the people, how much the office costs, that sort of thing. We can fairly accurately predict your costs. The one big variable is always going to be the revenue. That's where everything's moving around, in and out, up and down your sales pipe. So this report here becomes really important then. And we can circle back again into, we know we've got that secured job, Alice Road, and we know we've got the High Street Yoga thing. They're the two jobs, assuming nothing else moves around, they're the ones that we've got to be sweating on starts for and doing our best to make sure that they don't slip out. If they slip out, we're going to watch revenue fall off the end of the year and leave us in a bit of a hole. But for now, Archi-Demo is punching along very well. It's earning money at a really good rate. It's got cash at bank. The forecast is looking pretty good. If I was a director and owner of this company, I'd be pretty happy with where things are at. but the future's always uncertain and we never know what might happen to Archi-Demo, so stay tuned. So if you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button. There's plenty more updates coming each month for Archi-Demo Co. Lots of good stuff to come. And if you'd like any more information, jump on our website, www.custodianbackoffice.com. There you'll find plenty of free resources that will get you started towards better financial management in your architecture practice. I'm David Dillon from Custodian Back Office. Thanks very much for watching.